What if I told you that a single date could reshape everything the global currency world has been waiting for, a date that analysts now claim could flip the entire RV timeline into motion faster than anyone thought possible? And that date is December 2nd, a moment so charged with expectation that even banking insiders and policy watchers are quietly calling it a potential ignition point for the next major economic shift. So, before we go deeper, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on all notifications because you do not want to miss the updates that are coming hour by hour as this story accelerates. For months, the conversation around the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnamese dong has been building pressure, and while many updates in the past were based on slow policy changes or bureaucratic movement, what is happening right now heading into December 2nd is different because we are seeing synchronized signals emerging from Iraq, Vietnam, and international partners in a way that suggests coordination rather than coincidence. Iraq's central bank has been under enormous pressure to finalize structural reforms that strengthen the dinar's purchasing power, crack down on currency manipulation, and transition toward a more transparent foreign exchange system that meets international compliance standards. At the same time, Vietnam has been executing its own economic optimization strategy, shifting toward competitiveness, stabilizing inflation, reducing unnecessary rate interventions, and preparing for deeper integration with global financial markets. Analysts say that these two tracks, although independent, are now converging, creating a corridor of synchronized reform that could fuel an acceleration in valuation adjustments. The reason December 2nd stands out is because multiple elements appear to be landing around the same time. Iraqi sources point to internal deadlines for banking digitization, the rollout of compliance systems tied to international partners, and the possible introduction of measures that enhance market confidence. Some insiders say that certain banking institutions have been asked to prepare for potential shifts that require updated rate tables, although this remains unconfirmed officially. Meanwhile, Vietnam's policy cycle tends to align around late-year adjustments, and with recent signals of tightened regulation and renewed emphasis on currency stability, some experts believe the dong may be preparing for a more strategic positioning in regional markets. When you combine these patterns with growing chatter from analysts who monitor IMF interactions, regional financial agreements, and trade-driven pressure for stronger local currencies, December 2nd emerges as not just a date, but a potential point of convergence where multiple reforms may compress into a single window. The excitement in the community is not based on hype alone. As we continue to analyze why December 2nd is being treated as such a critical turning point, it becomes important to zoom in on the underlying mechanics that shape the value of the Iraqi dinar and the Vietnamese dong, because the movement of any national currency is not random. It is the outcome of structured policy decisions, economic performance, regional dynamics, and external financial pressures, all of which appear to be aligning in a very specific pattern right now. For Iraq, one of the strongest signals comes from its ongoing transition toward a more regulated, internationally compliant financial environment. Over the past year, the Central Bank of Iraq has moved aggressively to cut down on informal market loopholes, restrict unauthorized dollar flow, modernize digital payment systems, and strengthen oversight through international audit partnerships. These actions directly affect currency stability by reducing volatility and boosting legitimacy, which analysts say is essential before any serious upward rate adjustment can occur. Iraq's recent policy focus on stabilizing the dinar, promoting the use of local currency for trade, and tightening the banking sector suggests that the groundwork for future valuation movement is being actively built rather than merely discussed. Meanwhile, Vietnam's dong has been a steady performer in Southeast Asia, often viewed as undervalued relative to its economic growth, export strength, manufacturing expansion, and improving debt ratios. Vietnam's long-term strategy relies on maintaining stability while gradually positioning itself as a competitive regional force, and investor sentiment around the dong has been increasingly positive as the country strengthens supply chains, attracts foreign investment, and navigates global market shifts more strategically. What makes December 2nd especially interesting is the simultaneous movement from both nations that suggests a period of recalibration is underway. The chatter coming from regional financial observers indicates that December may be a month of policy alignment, and certain banking sources have mentioned that updates to international transaction frameworks and cross-border settlement procedures are being finalized around that time. Additionally, analysts watching IMF engagements say that both Iraq and Vietnam are receiving increased attention due to their efforts to modernize and comply with global standards, which often precedes major monetary adjustments. While no official authority has confirmed a specific rate change, the timing of these preparations has fueled speculation that December 2nd could mark the beginning of a breakthrough period rather than a single event, a moment when multiple reforms become operational and markets begin responding accordingly. The combination of digital banking expansion in Iraq, stable growth indicators in Vietnam, and heightened vigilance from global financial institutions has created a perfect as we bring all the critical pieces together. Market watchers, it becomes clearer why December 2nd is being highlighted across so many circles as a moment of potential transformation for both the Iraqi dinar and the Vietnamese dong, because the chain of events unfolding behind the scenes is creating a sequence that analysts say is too coordinated to ignore. Both Iraq and Vietnam are currently under strong international observation, not because of random speculation, but because their economic strategies are converging in a way that sets the stage for long-term valuation shifts. Iraq's continued crackdown on currency misuse, combined with digitization reforms and structural modernization, places it on a path that aligns with international currency stability requirements. The country's emphasis on reducing dependency on the dollar and strengthening the credibility of the dinar is part of a broader movement that could eventually pave the way for upward valuation adjustments once the foundational reforms become fully activated. Meanwhile, Vietnam's economic momentum has positioned the dong as a currency with significant potential, supported by export durability, manufacturing expansion, and increasing global partnerships. Regional analysts point out that the dong has remained undervalued for years despite strong macroeconomic performance, and as Vietnam continues to attract global investment, the pressure to align its currency more accurately with its real economic output grows stronger. December 2nd is being called a turning point because multiple regional and international financial cycles appear to be reaching their crossroads on or around that date, and these cycles influence how markets interpret stability, readiness, and potential movement. Some banking insiders suggest that back-end systems involving rate tables, compliance modules, and settlement channels may undergo updates during this period, although no confirmed public statement has been issued. The timing, however, aligns with broader end-of-year financial frameworks where many countries finalize policy shifts, banking audits, and compliance upgrades. Analysts also note that global institutions such as the IMF tend to closely monitor nations implementing coordinated reforms, and both Iraq and Vietnam have shown increased alignment with international expectations in recent months. This does not guarantee an immediate revaluation, but it builds the foundation that makes future adjustments more viable. The community's excitement around December 2nd is rooted in observation rather than assumption, because when multiple